She has spent 2 decades on the front lines of India's fight against human trafficking, rescuing thousands of women and children, leading raids with the police, building rehabilitation programs that go beyond just rescue. An ethnographer by training, she chose to take her research to the ground, working in some of the most vulnerable communities and creating pathways of safety, of dignity for all the survivors. Joining us now is Pallabi Ghosh, anti-trafficking activist and founder of the Impact Dialogue Foundation. Pallabi, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking out the time. Truly, you're doing such wonderful work out there. And it's been so many years to doing this for the lovely children and women out there. First up, take us back in time. Tell us about that story as a teenager that you witnessed that inspired you to become the anti-trafficking crusader you are today.
So it was long time back. I think right now I'm going to be 35. So it was when I was 12. So I come from Assam. I come from a very small railway town of Assam known as Lamding. So I had gone for holiday to Bengal, West Bengal, Kolkata, where my cousin was getting married. So the cook had told me that, because I was a very talkative child, that she wants me to take her to her, what you call her village. And there, initially, I was a little bit reluctant because I don't know, because I've never been to Bengal. But then, due to her so much of convincing, I ended up going to the village. And then I spent a couple of days in the village. When I was in the village, one thing that I realized was that the children there looked very different from me. They were like they were not like me. They came from a very different kind of, I don't know, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So they were not like me, and they were very surprised to see me because a girl being so outspoken was something they did not see. 4 or 5 days passed, and then suddenly I see a man who is just roaming in a lungi, we call it in Bengali, lungi and a gamcha, and telling that his daughter was missing. And honestly speaking, at that time, it didn't bother me. I was really not concerned because I myself was 12. Who cares? But then man kept coming to me and telling me again and again and again. And finally, he was like, you know what? If your father was searching for you, how would you have felt? And that stuck me. That really stuck me. And I couldn't sleep. When I came back, I couldn't sleep. I started calling my dad and I started telling him, this is something that I have seen. I'm not able to sleep. Then my father was like, why don't you do one thing? Why don't you get in touch with somebody who can help you figure it out? Now the thing is that point of time I did not know what is trafficking. Like right now all of us talk about trafficking. The only thing that I knew was missing. And whomever I reached out, they used to laugh at me. I remember I had our police station just before the market. And then when you used to go to the police station, there was this guy who used to stand there with this gun, like this santri. And I used to ask him what happens to missing children. He used to laugh at me. He was like, who is concerned? We are bothered about riots. We are bothered about riots, rape, murder, dacoity. We don't care. So it took me so long. But finally, I got a clue from somebody who told me to visit railway stations. That was the first clue. And that's when I started visiting railway station for 6 months and came up with a case. That was the first thing where I saw a woman who was sent from Rajasthan to Assam to work for labor, which was surprising to me because people go from Northeast to North Indian states for work. So this was first thing where she told me how her husband was duped by a middleman who bought her there, and who was like, and this woman was left in the railway station for 2 months. But still, it was not clear. The biggest breakthrough came when I was in college, and there was this girl who was following me for 2 months continuously. And she said that I spoke a language which was common to a lot of women in her village. Now, I told her that this is Bengali and this is a very common language. She was like, no, you don't understand. I come from remote North India where everybody speaks Hindi. And then I tried to pull a lot of strings, convince her, take me to her village. She didn't. But finally, through someone, I ended up going to a village where I see 60 women sitting with all Haryanvi dress, cross-legged. I'm telling you an incident of, I don't know, when I was 19, so long back. And then I started talking to them. Nobody was talking to me. But one thing, I said, and somebody started raising their voice. I just asked, did you have rice in Bengali? And somebody from the back started crying and asked me, "Are you from Bengal?" I said, "No, I'm not from Bengal. I'm from Assam, but I'm a Bengali." And the story that she told me horrified me. This was she was 13. She came from a family of 7 children. She went to buy ice cream. She had 50 paise with her, and she bought an ice cream, but she wanted that milk ice cream. A boy convinced and bought her that ice cream. He befriended her, they became very good friends, and then finally, after 6 months, he told her, "Let's go to Delhi." She didn't know what was Delhi, but by the time she was convinced and she accompanied him, there were 8 people in that entire thing. So the boy who told her to come to the market to meet her, he didn't meet her. There was somebody. And then in the bus station, there was somebody. Then when they went to the railway station, there was somebody. So it was like 8 guys before she reached Howrah station. That's Bengal. That is the Kolkata station. And then she said that she had tea. She doesn't remember anything. But when she opened her eyes, she realized that she was in a killa, which is like a fort, so which is like Purani Delhi. But finally, when she opened her eyes, she saw that she was lying on a pool of hay and there were goats and lambs. And she started knocking the door. There is this lady who opens the door, and this lady tells her that, uh, you are our daughter-in-law. She was very excited. She thought that she was married to this guy, but by night she got to know that she was married with a 50-year-old man. So 2 years of working like this, and finally she's married with 2 kids. That is what stuck me. I came back, and that's when I got to know, my God, this is like what's
So
happening.
the
It's
story
like,
essentially didn't change from when you were 12 to when you were 19. You decided
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
post your
Even now.
studies, you're going to give this your all. You're going to give this your everything. Pallabi, what's lovely is also you didn't stop at just accompanying police personnel, for instance, for some of these raids. You just didn't rescue these girls. You also decided to focus on the life after. And the life after comes with a lot of trauma. So tell us where that thought came from and how has that journey been like to rehabilitate them, to really take their story forward in a positive way, because they've really not seen that at least the last few months or years.
So, when I was working with a couple of good NGOs, like big NGOs in India. So, what happened is that people think that our work ends just with rescue, but that is the tip of the iceberg. The moment you rescue a person and send them back home, that's where the challenge lies. Because there is a lot of stigma, there's a lot of taboo, and there's a very subtle difference between a woman who is trafficked and a man who is trafficked. If a girl is trafficked, there is always this thought process that she must have been sexually abused. And people look at her with a very different lens. I still remember a survivor telling me that, she used to work in the house of a uncle where she used to make the dough. So after she was rescued, she met the uncle in the market, and that uncle was asking a shopkeeper what is her rate. So how that mindset changed. So when I started talking to the girls more, doing more interventions, going to the ground, I realized that you are not doing a big difference by just rescuing them. It's pointless, because you end up just, what is the point if you are rescuing them and you are not able to give them some kind of support? Because we have to address the issue. The main issue is poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, and these are universal problems. You cannot just stop this problem or eradicate this problem. So once we rescue the girl, if we are not able to make this person stand on their feet, they are bound to go back to the place from where they came. Because the biggest issue in trafficking is vulnerability. Due to the vulnerability only, they end up getting lured for a job or falling in love. Others who would be interested to come from a remote place like Northeast India or an Orissa or a Bengal to Delhi. So once we started seeing, and this was a very small example, I'll tell you. Once we rescued a girl and we told the father that we are going to give them a stipend of 2,000. The father did not get her married. He was like, okay, let her, we will allow her to stay in the house. But the moment you say that you are not supporting them, they immediately want to get rid of the girl, whether by getting her married or by sending her in some place. So rehabilitation comes in a very different approach, and it has really helped us, because I have seen how much of girls have not gone back to from where they have come because they were rehabilitated. And main thing is that we have to address the issue that they suffered a lot of trauma, because they are purchased like commodities, like like vegetables. And we are not talking about trafficking anymore. I'm talking about modern slavery now. It's like, it's no more trafficking, it's modern slavery, how humans are not paid the basic minimum wage that they deserve. So I think that's the challenge.
Pallavi, you've spoken so much about how a greater participation is needed in these kind of causes, and I think that's the most beautiful part of your story, that you're actually asking people, while we're living in a money-making world where everybody's chasing their dreams, let's not forget there's so much more that needs to be done, and that's why you're doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for that wonderful conversation, for sharing some of those stories, perhaps leaving our audience with some sort of afterthought on what more should we do as people in this country who can lead to a better society. Really, collective effort is what Pallabi is talking about through this story.